The Point of View is brought to you by Cowbell Coffee. Cowbell Coffee. Taste it, love it. Kel Charcoal Toothpaste. Kel Charcoal. Happy smile.
Welcome to a special edition of The Point of View. This is your favorite current affairs show on television. On The Point of View, we pick the right topics, get the right guests, ask the relevant questions on issues that matter to you. Tonight, we are remembering an important milestone in Ghana. The University of Ghana Medical School, which has trained hundreds of doctors, is 60 years old. We reflect on that journey and find out what is next for medical education. We'll be right back with my guests. Stay with us.
Mama Josie. Fe.
Different era, better result. Time has changed and time has brought Kel Charcoal Toothpaste, healthy gums, anti-cavity, fresher breath, and it whitens teeth. Kel Charcoal Toothpaste, Sankofa,
Yenchi, Kel Charcoal Toothpaste.
Happy smile.
So tonight, we take a break from all the chaotic politics and all the issues happening around the world to reflect on an important milestone for the country. If for nothing at all, the pandemic has taught us that medical education is central to a country's development. The University of Ghana Medical School is 60 years old. It's the first medical school in Ghana. It's also the premium one. Tonight, I'll be speaking to three persons with very interesting backgrounds and stories. All of them are associated with that institution. I have Professor Alfred Yorson. He's the head of Department of Community Health of the medical school, and he's also the chairman of the West Africa College of Physicians Ghana chapter. Prof, good evening. Welcome to the show.
Good evening, Bernard.
It's good to see you. We've done a few Zoom interviews during COVID.
Yeah.
Yes, it's good we are all still alive
After
all the stress of 2 years ago. I'm also happy to introduce Dr. Divine Banyugbala.
Yes, that is so.
Who is the Registrar of the Medical and Dental Council and also a medico-legal expert, bioethicist, barrister at the Medical and Dental Council. In essence, a very big man. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
Amazing. If we wanted to just work through all your qualifications, we would spend 2 hours. It's incredible. And I'm happy to also announce that I have soon to be Dr. Alberta Owusu-Ansong. She's a level 600 student. She's one of the best students the medical school would have. Can I call you Doc to be or just Alberta? Alberta. It's great to have you. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very
Amazing.
much.
So you're in level 600?
Yes, please.
So how many years of medical studies left?
This is my last
This is your
year.
last year?
Yeah.
A few more months.
So by end of this year,
November.
you're a full doctor?
Yes, please.
Amazing. Well done. So the medical school has chalked an important milestone. We'll try and talk a bit about its history. We'll discuss some of the issues around training doctors. We'll look at distribution of doctors in the country. I saw a recent story that said there were more Ghanaian trained doctors in some countries than there were in Ghana, which I thought we have to investigate.
Yeah.
Lots of issues. I don't even think we have enough time. But let me start with Professor Yorson. My dad worked at the medical school. Community health is close to my heart. And during the pandemic, I started realizing the value of both community health and public health generally. What's your story as a doctor? How did you become a doctor? How did you become involved in community health?
Okay, I entered the medical school 1996.
Okay.
and trained. And whilst we were in school, I had always been interested in engaging people in the community, improving people's lives. So even my colleagues were always calling me WHO. That was my intention right from the beginning. So it was no surprising after school I decided to branch into public health, so that we can take health close to where people live as possible, and also influence national policies on health, and then how we provide health for the citizens.
So what's the difference between community health and public health?
Generally, community health is more clinically oriented. It's more like practicing public health within the health system itself. And public health is more general and can be in any facet of life. But community health is more for health-related activities. And
within a community?
Within a community, yes.
So if you are a public health expert working in, say, Medina, you'll be practicing community health in the Medina community.
That is.
But the general field is public health.
It's public health.
Amazing. How many years have you been in this field?
I finished school 2003, qualified as a consultant physician in 2010. So about 12 years.
It's amazing
after being a specialist.
And you went to medical school in 96?
96. And we finished in 2003, January 2003.
Who were some of the professors and the big people there when you went in 96?
We went in 96. Our dean was Professor S.K. Usu.
Okay.
Yes, he was there. We had Reverend Professor S.K. Aite. Yes, and we were taught by some very good old professors. Professor Engman. The late Engman was there. Professor Niboy Tego, who became the Vice Chancellor.
Clifford Niboy Tego.
Yes, and Professor Aaron Lawson, who also became the provost of the college, were there, and eminent surgeons who were taught by the late Professor Bedus, the late Professor Emeritus Professor Champons, and all.
Was Ofosu Amar there at the time?
Yes. Yes, he was. He was coming in once a while. Not Professor Ashite.
Wow. The late Ashite.
Professor Oliver Comey in pediatrics, the late Oliver Comey. And we met Dr. Bohini and all the very experienced
the late Bohini.
So were you mates? When did you enter the medical school?
Absolutely, we were mates, and we're one of those calling him WHO.
WHO? Maybe that's a prophecy. Yes. Who knows? Yes. So you also entered 96?
Yes, so we entered in 96. And as he indicated, it was a wonderful experience, especially from some of us where we came from. That time, Legon had an important acceptance policy, which was that those days A levels, you set aggregate 3 and to 6, technically for medicine.
3 to 6?
3 to 6. But then Legon could sometimes move to 3 to 8, 3 to 10, and admit you in level 200.
So you had to do a level 100?
To justify, we didn't have level 100.
You didn't have level 100.
So you came into level 200 to justify your inclusion in the medical school. And that was important because the university has always been one that has a lot of vision. It meant that people from different geographical locations did not had differential resources. Yes. And therefore there were schools where you had a science student with aggregate 8, but self-taught.
Better than somebody with
probably didn't have yes. So they brought you together. And if you made aggregate 3 from the premier schools and somebody had aggregate 6, and he would tell you that it was always an interesting thing because at the end of the level 200, you were ranked in accordance with your performance in the university, and you found out that people with aggregate 8 may come and topple people with aggregate 3 and things like that. And I think that equity was important. The second important policy at that time, which we think our university has been doing so well, has to be what is now known today as affirmative action.
Okay.
But there was a conscious effort to ensure that because of the underrepresentation of women in general in education and medical education in particular, there was a 30% allocation to the total admissions for that year. And so, for example, if the general cutting off grade point was 3.0 at that time to qualify for the medical school interview, then they would drop it to 2.5 for females. And I thought that these are two important criteria that we should not lose focus.
So the geographical and the gender disparities, the medical school took care of that. By the way, did you study secondary school in Accra or you were up north?
No, I did secondary school, St. Charles Minor Seminary in Tamale
Okay.
at the time. It was a minor seminary and secondary school in Tamale, but did the basic school in Saboba, a
Saboba.
local authority.
So you went to an primary school in Saboba?
Yes. Primary, and then went to middle school.
You did
And
middle
left-
school?
Yes, and left midway because I then took common entrance
Okay.
in the second to third year of middle school, and there got to enter Tamasco, and then St. Charles had a special entrance exam, which I also was successful. So I left Form 3 of middle school to
Wow.
secondary school.
And
Form
when
1.
you came to Accra, you showed the Accra people that you were somebody. That's interesting. By the way, you also studied down south?
Yes, I did Winneba Secondary School.
Winneba
That's why I
Secondary.
went to St. Augustine's. in
Okay,
Cape
for upper
Courses
sec-
from, yes.
I see. I'm asking all this because soon to be doctor, these people went to medical school in 96. When I went to SSS1, I want to guess you were not even born.
I was
You
not.
were not even born at all. I see. So you were born after the year 2000.
No, 99.
You were born in 99, I see. And you've been in medical school for 6 years.
Yes.
How has the experience been so far?
So, we went in 2016, and going into medical school, you have so many expectations. So it's like you want to do so much because you want to become a doctor. But going through the years, it's like you were doing so well in your secondary school, and now you come to medical school. It's very competitive. So it's like you are not as high as probably you thought you would have been, compared to your mates in high school. So it's very challenging to be in medical school now if you are there thinking about competition still.
Is it true that all of you went with, is it 7 A's or 8 A's?
I think most of us.
How many are
us.
in your class?
We are about 250.
215, 215.
Yes.
I see. And so you got around 6 A's, 7 A's?
Yeah, I had 8.
8 A's. Almost everybody in your class had 8 A's. How many were you in your class?
We were
Well,
78.
74. 75.
You were
But
75.
eventually 67.
67.
So some dropped off. So let's say average of 70.
Yes.
And you are 215.
Yes.
So
about-
that's multiplied times 3.
Three.
A factor
Yeah.
of 3. In how many years? 96 to 2016. So that's 30 years.
30 years.
Amazing stuff. Are you learning the same courses? Before that, do you remember the first courses you learned?
Yes, the first courses we learned, the very first day we entered the medical school, we were taken to the dissection room where we do
The first day?
Very first day we entered.
Why?
Yes, that's it.
No cooling off period.
The very first day we entered, as soon as we got off the bus, we met Reverend Professor Ayute, who told us we are behind schedule.
We're already 15 minutes late. You
at
can't
all.
miss that.
You're already behind schedule.
That's the
So he
thing.
marched you straight
to the classroom and we started. And
Bernard, you see, one of the things Prof will tell you that it was one of the most humbling experiences in life. You know, in Legon, the medical students competition is rife, as
crazy.
Oso Anson said, and you are doing well. You could challenge your, lecturer, your professor in biochemistry, physics. Then we came in, and we thought it was an orientation program. So we were relaxed in our new white coats and stethoscope. Then we saw Reverend Professor Aite, who is my father. One of the wonderful professors who mentored us and guided us. He said, we are 15 minutes late. He said, we're like, what is happening? We're rushing, and we thought it was the orientation program. Then we noticed that it was a lecture, and he started the axilla, the roof, the floor, for the first time. And we all started.
First day.
First day.
What subject?
And we said that
Anatomy. It's not eating human body parts.
Yes. And then we started looking left, and nobody understood what was happening for the first time in our education. We understood nothing that the professor was speaking about. So we started scrambling to get pieces of paper. Most of us were not prepared because we thought it was an orientation. And after that immersion, we were then conducted into the dissection room, and that these are your teachers. And the bodies were there. So you never call them, no, it is your teacher.
Your teacher?
Yes, because you were the primary teachers, and that is a value that must not be lost on our students and all doctors, that we learn through them, and the sacrifices that families make to donate the bodies of their loved ones for the purposes of serving this public good. And we think that is something
so
that
in your days, did you do a year at Legon before moving, or when you got admitted straight? So you did 1 year at Legon?
No, more than that. Actually, we did up to level 400 at Legon. So you were on Legon campus, and the buses will come and move you and things like that. So yeah, it was good to the extent that you had time to interact and form networks
with other non-medical
students before you moved on to the Kolebu campus.
So you moved to Kolebu in level 500?
Yes, so we came into 400. So 1999.
You moved
after the BSc component.
But in your case, how was it?
So we do 1 year in Legon, and for the second year you are in Legon, but you are transported to Kolebu for lectures. But in 300 you move to Kolebu campus. Yeah.
Wow.
They start from level 100.
So with SSS, so level 100 you are doing normal science.
Yes.
And then level 200 you get into the medical school. So is there an interview after level 100?
No.
You're already admitted into the medicine program from level 100.
Yes.
But then the stress of, but Prof, I mean, I'm not here to condemn, but how can you be carrying people from Legon to Kolebu every day at dawn and bringing them back through this traffic? I mean, you can't study like that, honestly.
That's been some of the systemic challenges of the setup of the medical school, part being Kolebu and part being in the main university.
Yeah.
And there have always been plans, and we know it will be more efficient if we had enough accommodation facilities to accommodate all our students on the Kolebu campus. But now as they come, and for the level 100, it will indeed be pretty difficult to do everything in Kolebu because they do the sciences. So most of them are taught by teachers in the main campus. But from level 200, when they start doing medicine itself, then if we had the facilities in Kolebu, then we can accommodate all of them. So accommodation has been a perennial challenge, and it still continues to be a challenge, much as it is for the main university as well.
I see. This is the point of view. Tonight we're talking about the University of Ghana Medical School. It's the first medical school in Ghana. We'll do a bit of medical history when we come back. I'll show you images of the Kolebu campus. Hopefully if I get some of the older pictures, I will show you. And we'll talk about life in training doctors. What does it take to train a proper doctor in Ghana? We'll also discuss issues around deployment. So there are regions with less than 10 doctors, and there are regions with lots of doctors. How do we incentivize our medical practitioners to give off their best? We are told that there are more doctors trained in Ghana working in New York and London than there are in Ghana. What's really going on? What is the medical school's role in changing some of these things? This is the point of view. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Good Day Energy Drink keeps you going. Available in major supermarkets and shops near you. Excessive drinking can be detrimental to your health. Not recommended for persons under 18 years, lactating mothers, pregnant women, and people sensitive to caffeine. This advert is FDA approved.
Welcome back to The Point of View. Tonight we're reflecting on 60 years of medical education at the University of Ghana Medical School. This is, you can say Kolebu, but partly Legon as well. My guest, Professor Yosin, is head of community health. He's also with the West Africa College of Physicians and Surgeons. He is the chairman. I have Professor or Dr. Divine Banyubala, who is the registrar of the Medical and Dental Council and an expert in many things. He's a medical legal expert, a bioethicist, a barrister. I'll come into all of that. And then we also have soon to be Dr. Alberta Uswanson. She says I shouldn't call her a doctor yet. She has about a year to go, and she's looking forward to becoming a doctor. Let me come to you, Doc to be Alberta. So, what secondary school did you go to?
Wesley
Girls High School. Had you always wanted to be a doctor?
No.
So how did you end up in medical school?
In my early days, I actually wanted to do something related to mathematics.
Okay.
Because I was good at math. But getting into SHS, then I wanted to do science. And I mean, I had seen doctors, like the experience of doctors, and I had watched them do great things on TV, and I felt that was what I wanted to do instead. Yes.
I see. So how has it been? 2016 was when you entered. You are in your 6th year there.
Yes.
Can you tell me some of the how it's been in the past 6 years?
Okay, so I mean, I think University of Ghana tries to make our education as holistic as possible. So it's not just about the books. We do a lot of extracurricular activities. So I think that's what helps with the burnout, because studying medicine alone can make you very tired. Like, you can easily tip into depression with the knowledge, I mean, the workload and all that. So we have other activities like sports and debate societies and all that. So I think that is what has helped us cope.
When I was in Lagos, my mates didn't have a life, because in the morning they will shower, sit on the bus, they will go, they will come back in the evening, get food to eat, and they are all in the reading rooms. They are all doing assignments. We will go and do different things, come back, leave them in the reading room and go and sleep. But then they'll wake up before us and go again. So we didn't know, is that how it
I think it's changing now. Yeah. I think right now we are not trying, it's more of an individual something. So if you want to do just the books, you do just the books. But if you want to participate in other things, there's the avenue to do that. So, yeah.
I see. So how many, for example, they mentioned anatomy. So for example, in level 200 when you go, what type of courses do you do?
So now we are doing the modular system. So in their time, you just do anatomy, physiology. But for now, when you take, say, the cardiovascular system, that's heart-related issues, you do the anatomy under the cardiovascular system. It's physiology, it's biochemistry. So it's just one system, and you do all the parts under it.
And you do that in the 1 year? As in, so you don't do anatomy level 2 and anatomy level 3. So once you do anatomy, you do anatomy.
Yeah, but now it's like you do cardiovascular system, maybe level 200, maybe level 300, you are doing hematology. But under that, you are doing its anatomy.
So that's what you mean by the modular system. Yeah. So it's instead of just anatomy in levels, you do cardiovascular system. I see. Is that a better way of doing this?
Yes, we believe that is a better way of getting them a holistic understanding. So you are going to treat human beings, and you are going to treat them in systems. So if a patient comes with a condition that is affecting the heart, you should be able to understand what a normal heart looks like, and what a pathological, the disease one looks like, how the blood system should be. So once we do that and we give them a holistic view of the systems, it works better, and it improves their understanding. We did the course-based systems. Now is the modular systems, and we are including team-based learning, trying to get student-directed learning, something that will get the student
to match the demands of the time.
Yes.
Dr. Divine, do you think this is a better way of doing it?
Absolutely. It is in accordance with international medical professional regulatory best practice.
Okay.
And I say that because I'm one of the board of directors on the International Association of Medical Regulatory Authorities. We have the Canadian counterparts, the American, the British, the Australian, people from New Zealand, Malaysian, Indonesian, and Indian, and South African and Kenyan colleagues. So we make out the board, and we discuss, hesitant, training requirements. And one of the key things we have come to understand is that when you have problem-based learning, student-directed learning, when you have the modular system where they are systems-based, then they are able to connect the science with the art in the clinic. So one of the difficulties of medicine in particular is because it is both a science and an art. Yes. So once you just stick on literature, you're dealing with art. You're thinking of biochemistry, you're dealing with your science. But when you're coming with medicine, to get that fine balance is a very difficult thing. And that is why in modern training requirements as a regulator, we require that medical schools have a very strong a pastoral and counseling department dealing with issues of fitness to practice of medical students. Because, as you said, I tell you that course is a selfish course, and it can really be depressing sometimes.
I remember doing a show on education in Ghana, and I recall a lecturer saying that the way, so we're talking about people from the public school system and then those on the private school, and we're basically saying those on the public school system are more resilient because we're basically saying in a private school they are more dadaba, so they can't really cope with the training of medical schools. But they noticed that those who came from our normal schools like yours are able to adjust quicker to the demands. But why does medical education have to be so rigorous? Why do you have to kill somebody before they become a doctor?
The importance of medicine is because it is dealing with the most prized value, which is human life. And therefore, the scrutiny for basic competencies before I will feel comfortable that you should touch me is higher. And therefore, the requirements are generally, and it is expensive to train a doctor because you require so many lecturers to teach very small aspects of the whole subject. And often people lose sight of them. For example, for the first 3 years, you need the anatomy, both growth and then neuroanatomy. You need physiology, you need hematology, you need to do pathology, chemical pathology, microbiology, virology, biochemistry, all of that. Then you come in and introduce the clinical disciplines of internal medicine, obs and gynae, surgery, pediatrics, psychiatry, community health. You have to do emergency medicine and anesthesia. It's a complex.
All of this.
Yes, so that is why the doctor is the leader of the healthcare team. It doesn't matter what others
They need
say.
to know a lot about a lot of things.
Because you are at once a nurse, you are at once a pharmacist, you are at once a laboratory.
You are even an anesthetist at some point.
Yes. Oh, yes. I mean, final year when I went to Jirapa in 1999 for my district rotation, I was there with one of our current seniors, Professor Jonathan Dakubo, and I assisted my first surgery experience, and we had to administer that Jirapa, 1999.
There was no anesthetist,
and we had to administer the anesthesia ourselves
as doctors.
In Jirapa, because I was a final year medical student like her, and we were doing that 1999, and it took several hours to get from work to Jirapa. And I remember that so clearly because the woman had been delayed in the village for 48 hours. And the time she arrived, we did not have the system to give general anesthesia was not there.
My Lord.
And this will almost sound to her like,
this is crazy.
Yes. We had to do this cesarean section and the local anesthesia with ketamine. So those are the kind of things. So you must be able to tell what to do the lab test so that if it comes and you doubt it, you can always cross-check because you know how to do it. And so it is that because of that leadership role, the doctor is given this rigorous training. Is the most specialized and the most highly trained healthcare practitioner in the healthcare team.
At what point does a doctor decide their specialty? When did you okay, you're called WHO, so I'm sure you knew already. But at what point does a doctor in training realize that this will be my area of specialization at some point in the future?
Yeah, sometimes during the training. And then what we have done recently with the regulators, during the house job period, you go through all the major areas of specialty.
In your housemanship period?
Yes, surgery, you do medicine, you do obs and gynae, you do pediatrics. And surgery with all the subspecialties. Eye, ear, nose and throat.
So a doctor, when we throw you to Navrongo, you must be able to
function generally in every area.
Yes.
And then during that time, you may begin to have interest in particular areas, and then you become a medical officer, and then that's when you really try to build on the skill you want to, and then you make the choice of where you want to belong to.
So have you thought about what you want to do yet?
Well, I mean, I'm considering a surgical specialty.
Surgery?
Yes.
Wow. Why? Okay, before we get into some of the contemporary issues, who built the medical school? I'm asking because, you see, when it comes to tech, and because we're the second medical school, when you read Professor Ivan Samfom's book, he tells you how they started the medical school under Dr. R.P. Bafo. But I'm not sure of the Legon one. Do you have any of that history?
Yes, we do. We have a rich history.
Give me a concise 2-minute history of the medical school.
Yeah.
Yes.
The history of the medical school started during Gordon Guggisberg time, the governor, 1923, and then plans up to 1927, plans were there, but you know the depression in the 1930s up to the 40s. So several commissions were set up from the British, from the Americans, and then eventually it started with the Americans coming in, and then it suddenly stopped because they felt we didn't have enough local capacity to train. But our first president, visionary as he was, took the mantle, took charge, brought in a few of the locally trained Ghanaian doctors who were outside and started the medical school. So in fact, we will attribute it to Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, and he did it. He took in a few key people in the key areas, medicine, surgery, community health, pediatrics, and started training. So we started training our own local doctors. And since then, we've not looked back. But initially, the one started with the support of the Americans, had a few challenges. And then
But I was both also based at Kolebu as well.
It's always been based at Kolebu.
Do you know how many doctors have been trained since inception?
Since inception, for our 60th anniversary, we've trained over 4,510 doctors.
4,510 over 60 years.
Yes.
That's not too many. I mean, I know a doctor is expensive to get, but 60 years only 4,000.
And interestingly, I must say that
very small.
Since the early 2000s, we've not really increased our intake in the University of Ghana Medical School. It's always been around 200. We haven't really. Our challenge has been infrastructure, and then our
So your average is 75 doctors a year.
That's because from the initial, yes. We got into the 200s not too long ago, and we've been around 200 for over a decade now. We've not really increased.
Why?
It's multiple of factors. The infrastructure, and as the Dr. Banibala said, the registrar, and the faculty. Our challenge has been faculty. And you know, there are standards. You need to have some number of faculties to student ratios. And we are very mindful of that, so that the quality of
you don't want to train doctors at the way they train peace science students.
That's the thing.
Where we are standing in the window.
Yes, we can't do that. They need a hands-on experience, so we need to balance quality.
Peace science, forgive me. Peace science, please forgive me.
Yeah, I think you are forgiven. I will tell you something. One of the things that the board, had to come to was during the COVID era, when the universities were shut down. They said, "Oh, you can do exams online." So quickly, the board had to do something. Said, "You can't have an online doctor." I'm afraid. And often that is why medicine is neglected. One of the our surest bet as a country is not gold, silver, diamond. Is the quality of the Ghanaian trained doctor. As for that resource, I can vouch for. So, for comparative advantages, this is an area that, as a regulator, we are also 50 years old as a medical and dental council. So, as a professional regulator, and we have been engaging in the last year or two with the medical schools, and we'll be bringing stakeholders together because we think that we need to build on this 60 years of solid local quality medical education. And to be able to do that, we need to deal with the issues of the constraints that we have. One is basic infrastructure. The medical school is in Kolebu as a temporary measure. And since 1962, it has still been temporary. So we need to deal with that. For us as a regulator, we hope, and we are quite confidently ambitious, that we can train up to 3,000 doctors a year in this country.
If you put the numbers in Ghana together, Legon is about 210.
So
are you the biggest in Ghana?
So Legon is the biggest number because 230, the same number as KNUS to 230. The rest, UDS is about 160 thereabout.
Cape Coast
is about 100 and 110.
So when you put all together, it's less than 1,000.
Yes. So we are saying that once we have conversations on what is needed, and we think that this state Ghana
I think there's UHAS as well.
Yes, there's UHAS. We have UHAS, and then we have the private medical schools.
Yes.
Accra College of Medicine, and then we have family health medical.
So when you put all together, we're probably around 1,000.
So we are about 800 to 1,000, depending upon and then of course we get foreign trained who come in and to add to the numbers. But we think that the local trained, we are confident that we can train up to 3,000. A number of things. First, we can get investment in infrastructure.
Yes.
Increase laboratory capacities. Have appropriate equipment and the logistics that come with it. Then, as a country, we have not done badly at all. To deal with the basic sciences, once we deal with infrastructure and equipment, we need to invest in human resources. And our weakest link has been the basic and paraclinical sciences. That is where the weakest link is. And we are getting back to how the medical school started, where we have doctors who have trained in anatomy. So a surgeon teaching anatomy is the preferred mode of training a doctor, and not a pure scientist, anatomist. Yeah, because then because
anatomy must be taught in relation to its practice,
exactly,
not in relation to exams.
So it becomes a challenge, and we are making progress, and I think that Prof may touch on that. But the second thing is that we think that all regional hospitals, all regional hospitals, and appropriate district and municipal hospitals should be training centers.
Really?
Yes.
So that if, for example, at the basic and paraclinical sciences, we take 1,000 students, for example, in Legon, then 100 or so should be able to go to Ridge Hospital, 200 to 37, another 50 maybe to Bank of Ghana. Then 300 stay in Kolebu. Then you send some to the other regions, all the 16 regions, all regional hospitals. And this is we are bringing stakeholders, and we'll be having frank conversations. Should be centers for training, not just undergraduate, but also specialist doctors. You see, you cannot train more doctors without having more specialists. And we need to do that. Secondly, that will allow us to deal with issues of inequity in distribution of doctors. Two, it will deal with issues of bringing quality basic medical services closer to our people in the regions.
All right, we'll take a break and deal with more of that. This is the point of view. Tonight we're reflecting on 6 years of University of Ghana Medical School. My guests are so passionate. They say we can train up to 3,000 doctors a year in Ghana if some of their suggestions are put in place. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
Welcome once again to Malaria 360. Our attention is on how to stay away from malaria when pregnant. Number 1, as soon as you realize you're pregnant, visit an antenatal care clinic early and regularly. Number 2, adopt the habit of sleeping under an insecticide-treated net. Number 3, eat sufficient meals full of the right nutrients. Number 4, sulfadoxine pyrimethamine, SP, is safe for both the pregnant woman and the unborn child. Ensure that you take all your doses of SP at the advice of your healthcare worker for a malaria-free pregnancy. If you have to visit the health facility, adhere to all the COVID-19 safety protocols in place. COVID-19 is real, and so is malaria. Zero malaria starts with me and you.
Good Day Energy Drink keeps you going. Available in major supermarkets and shops near you. Excessive drinking can be detrimental to your health. Not recommended for persons under 18 years, lactating mothers, pregnant women, and people sensitive to caffeine. This advert is FDA approved.
Welcome back. Tonight we're reflecting on the UGMS. We used to call them medico. They are the green bus. Now the buses are more medical or suicide. Shout out to all the doctors in Ghana, the fantastic work they do. I don't want to over-discuss problems, but I like where you're going with your point around we can train more doctors, we can bring regional hospitals into the case, even district hospitals. Some would ask, what's happening to UGMC? I know some of this is political, but is it potentially one of those places that could solve the Legon problem?
Absolutely. We have already started discussions at the highest level. My board has been concerned about that. UGMC, to get value for money, has to take its rightful place in our healthcare system.
Okay. Yes.
And luckily for us, some of us were part of the initial conversations around what it should be. And we have no doubt at all that once the case is forcefully made, the policymaker and the political leadership will support.
So the way where it's located and its size and the land around it, potentially it can become another Kolebu. Is that what we are looking at? Potentially?
Well, not just another Kolebu, but a better version. And we think that if we want to set up Ghana, which was the original aim, plan, as the health hub of the West African sub-region, then we need to have high-end centers of excellence where we have various specialists and subspecialty services being provided there through the basic things we have to transplantation and things like that. Then we'll be able interventional, radiology and cardiology and interventions like that, so that our people will not have any need to fly out of this country for medical. And we can do it.
Even for the specialization.
Oh, yes. Exactly, because once we do, we are able to, and we have different conversations going on. And at this point, we have been in conversations with the medical schools as well to leverage even on the diasporan past students who are in Yale, Harvard, who are in Oxford, Cambridge, and working.
But I'm told that
to help
it's
us
very
train.
difficult for people trained abroad to be accepted back in. I've had people who took 2 or 3 years just fighting the system to get to even work in Kolebu. Meanwhile, they were trained in the UK or the US. Not to even talk about the Ukrainians and the Cubans. You are talking about even UK and US.
Yes.
So you are here saying you need more doctors, but somebody is trained somewhere and he has to go through a whole lot of internal politics. Why are you people doing that?
Well, maybe let me pick that before maybe it may not be too fair for Prof to answer that. Now, professional practice in general and medicine in particular is a privilege. There's no inherent right to the practice of any profession. Because of that, professional practice is jurisdictionally limited. Therefore, me sitting here, it doesn't matter that he's professor here. When he wants to go to US, he has to do USMLE, like the medical students are doing in America. So once you want to come in, here we require that if you are the level of a specialist, and you are coming in, you take a local exam to be sure that you meet the contextual competencies that we require for the Ghanaian patient. So,
wow. So if I were doing,
it's important.
I was working at Harvard Medical School, working with the latest equipment.
Yes.
Doing ENT. When I come back to Kolebu, I have to go through exams.
Yes. Because I take exams. If you go to Nigeria, you have to take exam. If you go to Kenya, you take exam.
But should that not be based on the level of sophistication of the system you are coming from?
No,
because we can all assume that if you are trained in some medical schools in certain places, the level of medical practice, based on even the equipment available, is higher.
So that is where the equipment higher is not science higher. Make that distinction. In fact, medicine is before. The equipment is to confirm your medicine. It's not to be the diagnosis for you. So when you have a practitioner who relies on the machine can go rogue. There can be poor calibration. Even the person who is interpreting it may interpret it wrongly. So you can't appear before me as a professional regulator and say blame the machine.
I'm stretching this because you see we have more doctors in the Western world who have been trained here. And I guess it's much easier for them to go than for them to come back. And we have a need. So we need more doctors. So shouldn't we make it easier for well-trained doctors to come back.
Yes, as the regulators is saying, it's part of it. You just need to satisfy the requirements to get into the system. And sometimes it comes with other sociological issues. You see, having stayed there for so long and coming back, it's not that readily easy for them to migrate. So it's not only that the system is frustrating them, sometimes the decision for themselves to migrate, am I coming with my wife, am I coming with my family, those ones are challenging. But what we are trying to do is that both at the colleague level and at the medical school level, we have colleagues, North America and the Europeans.
Is there a systemic discrimination against people trained in Eastern Europe, Ukraine, Russia, and Cuba?
Okay,
so is it a communist discrimination?
So
if you are from a communist country, we don't want.
Bernard, you're making important points, and I think that the opportunity is here for us to clarify. The first thing is that it is not true that the need for doctors is only here.
Okay.
The British have committed 100 million pounds to recruit, and they are actively sending.
I agree. I'm saying that we have a worse ratio than they do. I understand your point, but we have fewer doctors here than they do.
No, I'm coming.
Isn't that true?
You see, you're talking about need, and I'm talking about clinical need, and I'm saying that the need is everywhere.
It's everywhere, dude.
But the need is more here.
That's the first point.
The doctor-to-patient ratio here is worse than in those countries.
Exactly.
So on a general level, we can say, I'm not trying to argue, I'm basically saying that it's a matter of public knowledge that the number of doctors per person in Ghana is worse than the number of doctors per person in all the comparative countries.
Yes, so that is not the point we're making. We are trying to say that because there's need. Therefore standards, do you understand? Because we are talking about people coming in, and we are saying that professional regulators, we have competency levels. If you are properly trained, the quality filter will tell.
All right.
So the mere fact that we have a need does not mean we should sacrifice, because as I sit here, I'm a potential patient. From a professional regulator's perspective, all of us are potential patients. So somebody having my license, I must be sure that I'm happy to collapse in front of the person.
And then
if the person is not qualified to treat me,
as if collapsing is your choice.
you understand?
I get it.
Thank you. But, so if I am not comfortable for the person waking up and seeing that she is standing over me, then she's not qualified to stand over anybody if human life is valued the same way. So, translation. So the mere fact that I'm in America, yesterday I was in America, and I'm required to have a certain standard of quality, doesn't mean that tomorrow I'm here in Ghana and suddenly my life doesn't matter much and I have a different quality.
I get that general.
So as professional regulators, there's a principle of reciprocity. If the product is not good enough to practice in your country,
it shouldn't be good enough
to practice anywhere in the world. And yet we have a special problem where people who go to Russia, Ukraine, Belarus, China, it's not as we used to know when we used to have the USSR, when we used to have government to government, where people were screened, they had appropriate background. It's just that because the space was limited here, they couldn't get in. So those people go. But you have cases where people who have done literature in English with E8, D7, have gone to Ukraine, they come back and say, I'm a doctor. And they don't know a stethoscope. We are just coming from the examination. And the incredible things we say. So
some of these private institutions may not necessarily maintain the standard. So there has to be a system where we can verify the quality of the people trained there.
Absolutely. So all regulators across the world have internal mechanisms of ensuring that they do not let loose people with insufficient fitness to practice competencies onto unsuspecting members of the public. That is our primary responsibility. The second thing is that we as a country, we visited these training areas. That is how concerned we were as a professional regulator with the Parliamentary Select Committee, and I must put on record that they have been one of the most supportive, the Parliamentary Select Committee on Health, for our regulatory work. In fact, I just returned from Kenya with some of them, and we are going to go later this year, God willing, to the US to understand the regulatory things that are coming, the standards as we require them, and why it's important to reposition today's healthcare worker to be able to be fit for purposeness for tomorrow. Because what COVID-19 has shown us is that even doctors if you don't, as professional regulators, there are three things we are interested in. Your technical competence, which is what she's getting now. And one, she wants to specialize is further enhance the competency in that area. 2, your conduct. And 3, the ethics. We have found out that even doctors can be conspiracy theorists. And therefore,
as COVID has taught us.
As COVID has taught
really
us.
hard.
2, that we are in the area of not just science, but innovation and technology. And therefore, the modern contemporary doctor needs to be fit for purpose, must have competencies in innovation and technology and things like that. So those are the new things. Right. And with technology, we are able to bring in
two quick things. What is the theme for the celebration this year?
It's 60 years of medical education and using technology as we go forward. I've paraphrased it.
Yeah.
It's not it.
Do you have your program lineup already?
Yes.
So can you give us some highlights of the program lineup?
Yes, the launch of the program is on the 2nd of March. It's at the College of Health Sciences in Kolebu, and it will be chaired by the Pro-Vice Chancellor of the University of Ghana, and then the guest of honor will be the Minister of Education, Dr. Edukun. The 9th of March, it will be an interactive activity, alumni coming to meet current students and invited guests, having games. And the next is the anniversary lecture, which will be given by Dr. Asamoah at the Moving Peak Hotel. That's the Wednesday after. And then eventually we will end with a Thanksgiving service at the Kolebu Community Chapel. And in between there will be other activities as we go on.
Wonderful. I don't want to put you on the spot and ask you where you will go if you are posted.
No, she will not be the one to determine where she goes. We will determine.
No, but that's the
for the first part.
Yes, but
for
after that,
years,
when she's free,
she
can then decide what she wants to do.
Yes.
So my question is, what are you doing so that, let's assume she wants to go and work in Sunyani or work in Fiapre or somewhere in Kindampo or Gonja East.
Yes.
After she does her 2 years, she doesn't say, Charlie, I don't want to die in this bush. So I'll come back to Accra or Kumasi. Do you understand? Because even though she will say she will go, we all know that there are practical difficulties. Some of the doctors tell me training opportunities. My colleagues in Accra will be doing specialization. I'm in the bush, I can't do anything. I'm not getting school for my kids. Do you understand? And some of the hospitals don't have anything. So why should I go and be there when you are here? Yeah. So what are you doing to encourage her if she wants to really do?
So I'll just limit myself to the regulators bit because it's a larger employer issue, policy issue. But for our part, with the first 2 years after the medical school, they undergo what we call housemanship or house job. And they are under us. So the first year we require that, because we are fresh from medical school, brilliant on theory and low on practice experience, you stay in the teaching hospital and level environment where there will be consolidation of this knowledge and skills. The second year, as a matter of policy, since 2020 or 2019, we've decided that if you do your first year housemanship in Greater Accra region, for example, your second year will be any of the other regions, not Greater Accra, unless there are exceptional circumstances. So, and in the past, when we started the policy in 2019, there were about 55% of all averagely 2,000 house officers in Greater Accra. And if you added the house officers in the Ashanti region, you were almost 80%. As we speak now, we are down from 55% to 40% of all the house officers in Greater Accra region. Now, when we send you to the districts, the second year we do it in the district, level hospitals. And then they get so familiar with the place, then they say, oh no, I didn't know, I thought it was bad. They come in, people will try to say they won't go, but as a regulator, one will fix you, we have fixed you. And that has helped us, and a lot of them don't want to come back. I'll give you a typical example. A senior colleague of ours, I won't mention the name, she was a big regional director, and then the daughter wanted to say, oh, I want to do my second year in Ridge. And we just said, that is not possible. So, okay, you go to Brekum. I said, look, if you go there, what do you want to do? I want to do surgery. I said, if you want to do surgery, then it is not even in your interest to stay in a teaching hospital environment, because there's practical skills you won't get. So if you go to Brekum 2 weeks and you don't like it, come back, I'll change.
Wow.
She went. By the end of the week, she was driven straight, came and packed her things.
So I'm going.
and go.
I'm not coming back. So the field is different. The field is where the
yes,
action is.
that is
The
where
field is where you learn the work.
And that's where you learn the work, and all the things about biases of, what will Bolga look like? What will Bongo look like? Once they get there, of course, there are also young people who have stayed long in school. They may find a boyfriend or a girlfriend there. They find a wife.
I see you are trying to lure people. Have you been convinced to go to Berekum?
I think so.
You think so?
That's why they need to experience it. They have a lot of
It's a wonderful
privileges.
Because you studied in Central Region and then you came to Accra. So you have 2 regions.
Yes.
Yes.
I think you probably need a 3rd region in your life.
I think
To
so.
move out.
But what's the conversation among your colleagues?
So I think we are all familiar with what he's saying, that you do your first year in a teaching hospital and then you go to the districts next. And most people actually want to go to the districts because if you are in Kolebu per se and you want to do surgery, you would have a lot of residents competing to do the surgeries. You have big consultants. So you will not really get the exposure as much as you would if you are, say, the only house officer working with one doctor in a district hospital. So the exposure in the district hospitals may be okay, even though you not see like a variety of conditions as you would in a teaching hospital.
What's your message?
Can I give you an example? Our class, we had 2 people or 3 going to Bator. Bator, they do a lot of surgeries. And of those, 2 of them are neurosurgeons. Another one is a general surgeon. One went to Nkwanta.
Yes.
Within 6 months, he was doing all the surgeries. He's also a
The field is changing.
cardiothoracic surgeon. So that is what you get if you expose yourself.
I just wanted to ask a final question before you close up. So what is your message to young people who want to enter medicine now? So I'm sure somebody's watching, they are in SSS, they want to become doctors. What's your message to them?
Yes, so I think you should make up your mind that this is what you want to do and try to ask questions, get to know what you are going into before you decide to get there in the first place. And once you work hard, you can actually get into it. And always keep your motivation. Always remember what motivated you in the first place to get into it. Because once you lose sight of your motivation, you would actually break down, and that's when you become discouraged and you feel like you failed already.
But you've not regretted choosing this path?
Not at all.
You've not regretted choosing this path. I wanted to give the last word to Professor Yosin, but I know you're on a roll, so let me just... So since you're from the Medical and Dental Council, I know you've been very busy closing quacks and things. How does a quack doctor operate for like 15 years? In fact, there was one you guys arrested. He had done like 22 years or something. How does a person...
36. Yeah. 36. The latest one, my team is in Cape Coast.
How is that possible?
That is possible, Bernard, because once again, regulation is collective effort.
Right.
The person who is practicing as a doctor, a quack doctor for 36 years, comes from a family. The family knows he hasn't gone to any medical school. He comes from a home. The home knows he hasn't gone to a medical school. He comes from a community. The community knows that you haven't seen the man going to any medical school, and he shows up, sets up camp. In other words, all of us need to stick together to be able, because you see, where you have regulation, the regulator cannot be everywhere. And therefore, this forum is important for us so that we raise public awareness and we can all collectively protect our public health, safety, and well-being.
We've been talking to Professor Alfred Yosin, Department of Community Health. He's the head of that department and also chairman of the West Africa College of Physicians and Surgeons Ghana chapter. Dr. Divine Banyubala, who is the registrar, Medical and Dental Council. He's a lawyer and a doctor. He's a medico-legal expert. So he's wild. And so bioethicist. Maybe I need to bring you back to discuss.
Yeah, we can discuss
ethics of
the
nasia and all these interesting fields, the ethics of medicine.
That would be great.
A different interview. And then, of course, soon to be Dr. Alberta Owusuan Song, level 600. She's going to be a surgeon. She's going to save many lives. And one day, who knows, she can even win the Nobel Prize for medicine. That's what we're praying for. Thank you, gentlemen and lady. Congratulations on 60 years of medical practice. Long may UGMS live. And that's all we have time for. Thank you for watching. My name is Bernard Avle. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
The Point of View is brought to you by Cowbell Coffee. Cowbell Coffee. Taste it, love it. Kel Charcoal Toothpaste. Kel Charcoal. Happy smile. Drink.